What's up, guys? Jake, the MMA Dad. I hope everybody's having a great week heading into the weekend. I hope you guys are being blessed. I am about to sit down and knock out a video for you guys that I'm really excited about. So today we're going to get into an epic rap battles of history, ERB, one of my absolute favorite channels on YouTube. I've gone through and watched, I don't know, the vast majority of the epic rap battles. It's always been something that I've really enjoyed. Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd do a phenomenal job. Obviously, they bring in some guest rappers here and there. But one thing you can always count on an ERB is they're going to use historical facts or things about whatever characters it is that they're working in to, to go at the other one or to brag or whatever. They're really good at putting their battle rap bars in with the characters themselves and the things that the characters have been through. And anybody who saw the newest one that they dropped, that's a subscriber of this channel, knows that I had to get on this one for sure, because they did Ragnar Lodbrok and Richard The Lionheart. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of ancient history, but more specifically, I'm a huge fan of Celtic, Scandinavian history, because that's where my family bloodlines come from. So I'm excited for this, to see just how much of the historical stuff and how much of the Hollywood stuff gets into this battle. But before we get into that, shouts out to the Hangover Gang, shouts out to Creek Squad, shouts out to the Nightwish Army, and as always, a big shout out and thank you to our active duty military, our veterans, and our first responders. We love you guys on this channel, and we're praying for you all the time. So without any further ado, because for those of y'all who don't know, I've done, I think, another one or two other ERBs on the channel. I really like to break down these battles because, some people might be watching these battles and they don't really necessarily understand some of the disses that are being put out there, because maybe they just don't understand the history or the story of the character. So I try to break them down. I know quite a bit about Ragnar. I know not as much about Richard as I do Ragnar, but I do know a lot about Richard as well. So we'll see what ERB did with this. So let's get into this, guys. I'm excited. Here we go. And boom.
This video is sponsored by Rise of Kingdoms.
Rise of Kingdoms. Excited for this.
Richard the Lion.
All right, nice Peter. Epic Lloyd.
I'm Richard the First from the Third Crusade. That only leaves room for you in second place. The chivalrous swinger of the sword and mace, and I kill you when I spit like a pit full of snakes. I'm the number one dick, rising up to me. Okay, so Richard already opening up with some good bars. So let's go back just a little bit, and their characters look great, by the way. So he said, I'm Richard the First. Hold on. Richard the First from the Third Crusade.
From the Third Crusade, that only leaves room for you in second place, right? So Richard the First led, the Third Crusade. So first, third, so that only leaves room for Ragnar in second place. Saying, obviously, he's not going to win this battle. He's going to come in second place. That was nice.
Leaves room for you in second place. The chivalrous swinger of the sword and mace, and I kill you when I spit like a pit full of snakes. I'm the number one.
Okay. The chivalrous swinger of the sword and mace. What do you say? And I spit venom. Sorry. I like breaking these down, man. I like breaking these down.
Swinger of the sword and mace, and I kill you when I spit like a pit full of.
And I kill you when I spit like a pit full of snakes, right? Okay. So I kill you when I spit, like when I spit these rhymes, like a pit full of snakes, because Ragnar Lodbrok, according to the Icelandic sagas, was killed by being thrown into a pit full of snakes. So Richard is saying, I'm going to spit venom at you and it's going to kill you like that pit full of snakes that you were dropped into. It's a nice little bar.
I'm the #1 dick, rising up to make you feel small. My battering ram slams through your shield wall. I'll announce at the next of your thing.
He's making some dick jokes, right? Because Dick is the nickname for Richard, and I'm rising up to make you feel small. Like, it's rising, it's going to make you feel small, and I'm battering right through your shield wall, right? Vikings are known for interlocking the shields for the shield wall. It's a common tactic that was used throughout a lot of history. So, all right, saying I'm bigger than you in that apartment, slamming right through your shield wall. All right.
Your shield wall. I'll announce at the next of your things that I'm chopping through your family like boneless wings. Of course you got avenged by a kid with no bones. Your own story ended worse than Game of Thrones. Your son killed your ex.
Hold on. Okay. So he's like, I'm cutting through you like boneless, right? So one of Ragnar's sons was Ivar the Boneless. So he's saying, of course, you got avenged by a son with no bones, right? So when Ragnar was killed in Northumbria by being thrown in the pit full of snakes, the sons of Ragnar went over to avenge their father, one of his sons being Ivar the Boneless. Now, there's a lot of debate within the groups of historians on why did Ivar have the nickname the Boneless. Was it because he was, maybe a paraplegic? He didn't have use of his legs. Was it, maybe he just had brittle bones? Was it, maybe he was hyper flexible, right? Like, a contortionist kind of, like, maybe his knees and elbows were double jointed, something like that. Or was it an impotence thing, like where maybe he couldn't achieve that, so they called him boneless. Nobody really knows exactly why they call Ivar boneless, why he got that nickname. So, but I understand where he's going with that. And then he said, your own story ended worse than the Game of Thrones. Obviously, we all know how Game of Thrones went. Not a whole lot of people were super happy. They kind of rushed it towards the end. And he's basically saying, like, your story ended worse than that. Got thrown in a pit full of snakes, because according to the sagas, what actually happened was Ragnar's sons started becoming amazing warriors on their own and achieving a lot of stuff. And in the culture, they didn't want to be outdone. So basically, according to the sagas, Ragnar decided he was going to take over England with just 2 ships, goes over there, obviously fails at that, gets thrown into the pit full of snakes. Therefore, his sons go over and start trying to enact their revenge. So, kind of a crappy ending to a storied career, but let's see where he goes with it.
Or he ended worse than Game of Thrones. Your son killed your ex killed your wife. I'm the Lion King, man, but that's a messed up circle of life. Half-ass head taps can't be condoned.
All right. Oh, man. Hang on. So he's going back into, his family tree. So what do you say there? Your son killed your ex, right? Because in the show Vikings, Sigurd, Snake in the Eye, killed Lagertha, which was one of Ragnar's exes. Ragnar actually had several wives. And so your son killed your ex. And what do you say? Your ex killed your wife? Because Lagertha killed Aslog. Yeah, your ex killed your wife because Lagertha killed Aslog. I'm the Lion King, man, but that's a messed up circle of life. Playing off of the Lion King with the famous song, Circle of Life. Richard's doing well so far.
I'm the Lion King, man, but that's a messed up circle of life. Half-ass head taps can't be condoned. It's like you raided the face of Post Malone. I'm scared of no foe. I'm backed by the Trinity. I'll conquer you on my day off like you threatening to conquer Ragnar's.
Okay. So he said, you look like you raided the head of Post Malone because of the head tats, you know, but in a lot of warrior cultures, tattoos were a symbol of things that you had accomplished, you know. So sometimes you see a guy that's got a lot of tattoos everywhere. You might not want to mess with that particular individual, which is a lot different than like today when you got some people getting head tats that you might not necessarily really be afraid of. And you know, he said that I'll conquer you on my day off, like Sicily, because Richard the Lionheart conquered Sicily. So pretty good first round by Richard. I think he landed some good shots in there. So let's see how Ragnar responds.
Off like you were Sicily. Threatening to conquer Ragnar is bold. For a king who got whacked by a 10-year-old. I'll sacrifice you to Odin while drinking horns of mead. Good thing you hold the red cross, cause that's who you're going to need. You built your army by raising.
All right. So he's already... I'm going to try not to be biased, right? Like, obviously, I'm rooting for Ragnar, but that was a really good response from Ragnar. He said, conquering Ragnar... you know, that's bold for a guy who was killed by a 10-year-old. So for those of you who don't know, Richard Lionheart was shot with an arrow by a 10-year-old. I believe it hit him like somewhere in the chest area. And the actual arrow itself didn't kill him, but he ended up contracting gangrene. So he died later, but a 10-year-old caused the wound that took down Richard the Lionheart. So Ragnar's like, you're going to come conquer me? Like, you're the dude who got killed by a 10-year-old. So Ragnar is already trying to belittle Richard, who tried to belittle Ragnar already.
You're going to need. You built your army by raising English tax.
And then the red cross, right? So he's got a red cross on his shield. He's saying good thing, because that's who you're going to need, right? You're going to need help. You're going to need... you know, blood, and you're going to need a blood transfusion when I get done cutting you with these bars.
You're going to need. You built your army by raising English taxes. I raised my army taxing English asses with my axes. And who are you to talk about the circle of life? Your old lady can't feel the love on any night. Your only son was illegitimate.
All right, so so one thing about battle rap, right, is if you can flip somebody's bars and turn them around on them, then that's kind of like bonus points, right? And he's saying you raised your army by taxing your people, by raising the taxes on your people to pay for your crusades, to pay for your military exploits. And he's saying I raised my army taxing English asses with my axes. Like Ragnar saying I raised, you made your people poorer to raise the money for your campaigns. I made my people richer because I rose them to go conquer things, and you know, taking my axes, because for those of you who don't know, Ragnar, I mean, according to history, like nobody knows if Ragnar's like a real person or if he's you know, a combination of multiple people, but there are some that believe that Ragnar, his father was a Danish king who also at the time ruled not only Denmark but Sweden, and that his mother was from Norway. So he would have been Dane and Norwegian, and the Danes were known for their axes, which is where we get the Dane axes from. And you know, he's saying I raised up my army to go make my people richer, because for a lot of people don't know that just because you were Scandinavian, Norwegian, Swedish, or Dane didn't mean that you were Viking. Like Viking is a title; it's not a race, right? So it actually means raider or pirate. So essentially, when they would go on raids, they would say, "I'm going to go a Viking." So that's where we kind of get that term from. So Vikings are just a term for raiders. So it's more of a job title than it is an actual race, right? So that's what Ragnar's saying. Like I brought my people over because they were ready to take axes to the English and gain a bunch of wealth from that. And the Danes did, right? For a long time, a lot of England was known as Danelaw. And at one point in time, only Wessex was like the kind of lone standout. Well, it was Wessex and was it Northumbria? I think it might have been Northumbria that were basically standing up to the Danes and kept England from becoming fully conquered.
English asses with my axes. And who are you to talk about the circle of life? Your old lady can't feel the love on any night.
So that was the rebuttal, right? So he did the circle of life thing, saying I'm the Lion King, and he was like, you know, you talk about the circle of life, but your lady can't feel the love on any night, because that's another song from Lion King. Can you feel the love tonight? But he's saying like you can't satisfy your wife, so she can't feel the love on any night, which is also kind of flipping his bar about being the biggest dick, right?
Your only son was illegitimate, you out on the side. Twist your spine like the end of the Plantagenet line. I'm just a warrior, I'm not the linguist, but I think the king of England should probably speak English. You took Acre and Jaffa like a piece of...
Oh, man. All right, so your only heir was illegitimate. So it basically came off from the side. And then he talked about, so it's like the end of the line of Richard Lionheart's bloodline, right? Because he's saying that you couldn't have a biological heir, so your bloodline ended. And then, what did he say? He said one right after that too. Oh, yeah. He says, I'm a warrior, not a linguist, but I think the King of England should at least speak English, because Richard the Lionheart was French, so he actually didn't speak English. He spoke French, and French, and I can't remember what the other language was that he spoke, but he didn't speak English. So he's like, the King of England should speak English, and I like the way that Lloyd decided to deliver that bar, because it made it hit a little harder.
But I think the King of England should probably speak English. You took Acre and Jaffa like a piece of cake, but never attacked Jerusalem for Christ's sake. Saw the Holy Land but couldn't go all the way. We should call it the Crusade of Richard the First Base. Sail back north with your barbarian.
Woo! All right. So now Ragnar is attacking him from a you failed standpoint. So you took Acre and Jaffa like a piece of cake, so 2 cities, but you couldn't take Jerusalem for Christ's sake, which is like a double, because he's saying you couldn't take Jerusalem for Christ's sake, like you couldn't take it for Christ to regain the Holy Land, which was the whole point of your crusade, but you couldn't regain the Holy Land for Christ's sake, like, you know, like you would say for Pete's sake, or, you know, whatever. So there's a little double right there. And then he said, you got to Jerusalem, but couldn't finish, so we should call you Richard the First Base. So, you know, saying like you didn't complete what you set out to complete. You only made it to first base. You didn't make it all the way home. So Ragnar had some good rebuttals in there, some good rebuttals. Let's see what Richard brings next.
Like a piece of cake, but never attacked Jerusalem for Christ's sake. Saw the Holy Land, but couldn't go all the way. We should call it the Crusade of Richard the First Base. Sail back north with your barbarian goon, because I'm tearing down your legacy, leaving it in ruins. Your real self next to your legend disappoints. I see you shaking in your shaggy little pants like Sonic. Who invented the royal?
Okay. So this is a pretty good start for Richard, right? He said, I'll send you back up north with your barbarian goons, and leave you in ruins, which is a double, right? Leave you in ruins as in like leave you in ruins, like I'm going to ruin you, leave you in ruins, but leave you in ruins because the Vikings utilized a runic alphabet, so their language was written in runes. Your real self next to your legend disappoints, right? So the stories of Ragnar and his exploits, the Vikings didn't really write down a lot of their history. So a lot of the history we know about the Vikings comes from the Icelandic sagas, which were written way later, so from stories that had been passed down. And we also have some historical accounts of the Vikings from what was that guy? He was a Middle Eastern guy. It's kind of along the line. It's kind of like what the 13th Warrior the movie The 13th Warrior was based on. A Middle Eastern guy went up and lived amongst the Vikings, and he actually wrote down a pretty historically accurate account of Viking culture. And then we also get the stories about the Vikings from the Anglo-Saxons and the people who had to fight against the Vikings. So obviously, they're not going to paint Vikings in the greatest of lights. So they kind of always describe Vikings as these like heathen barbarians. And, you know, the movies always depict them as like these like dirty, barbaric, you know, type people. But in real life, Viking culture, the Scandinavian culture, was very progressive for its time. So women could own land, they could hold titles, they could go to battle. They were very clean people. They actually would dye their hair to keep lice and other insect infestations down out of their hair. They actually made combs. Hygiene played a big role in Scandinavian and Viking society. So that bar kind of, if you know the history, doesn't really hit as hard, because even though they were very, very brutal warriors, they weren't, you know, barbarians as we would think of barbarians. But he's saying your legend disappoints because the legends, or you disappoint next to your legends, because the legends make you out to be this like, you know, crazy person. But a lot of historians don't think that it's true, and a lot of historians don't even think Ragnar was a real person. They think it's just a multiple, you know, Scandinavian heroes kind of put into one legend. What did he say after that?
I see you shaking in your
yeah. I see you shaking in your shaggy little pants like zoinks. This is a funny bar, right? So for those of you who don't know much about the saga of Ragnar Lodbrok, so Lodbrok actually means shaggy breeches. And the reason it means shaggy breeches is when Ragnar went to claim his first wife, Thora, he had to fight a giant snake. And he wore these pants that were made of like really thick hide, and they still had the hair on them to like protect him from the snake's fangs, kind of like how like snake wranglers wear those really tall boots that have like Kevlar and stuff in them to keep the fangs from being able to get into their legs. So Ragnar wore those to go defeat this snake to claim his first wife. So he was known as Ragnar Lodbrok, Lodbrok meaning shaggy breeches. So he's playing on that. I'm going to have you shaking in your shaggy little pants like Zoinks. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo used to say Zoinks, so it's a little bit of a double there. Man, I'm getting way too nerdy for y'all, I think.
Little pants like Zoinks! Who invented the royal me? We! Who's the predominantly fictional MC? Lee! You're a wannabe, mon ami! Kneel down and honor me! Richard coming through in the end like Sean Connery! The devil correlated blood and gore!
Man, that rhyme scheme. The me, thee, we, right? And then saying I'm coming through in the end like Sean Connery, because Sean Connery played Richard the Lionheart in Robin Hood, which in and of itself is ironic because, you know, Sean Connery's Scottish, and the English and the Scottish have a long history against each other. That's not what we're here to. But that was a nice little rhyme scheme, the way he ended it. I don't want to miss any of his bars, but that was nice.
The devil correlated blood and gore gourmet. You might have the axe, but I make a body spray. As a silver came and I struck like a cobra. If I wanted to fight loser Vikings, I'd go to Minnesota. You want to fight me?
Man.
Take up the tin.
Shouts out to the Minnesota Vikings fans, man. That one was brutal for y'all. You might have the axes, but I make the body spray, right? So axe, body spray. You might have the axe, but I make body spray, as in like I make them spray blood when I come through, because I'm killing everything. And if I wanted to fight a loser Viking, I go to Minnesota. Minnesota Vikings, an NFL football team here in the United States. There's some heartbreak for fans of the Minnesota Vikings, so that's what he's playing off of. That was nice, though. That was nice.
I struck like a cobra. If I wanted to fight loser Vikings, I'd go to Minnesota. You want to fight me? Take off the tin shirt. I'll be waiting in my birthday suit, going berserk. Ding dang dong, morning bells warn about me at the break of dawn. And I'm putting you to sleep like your brother John. Living monks and chunks on Northumbrian lawns, 'cause I'm the all-father spawn. You couldn't even beat a
Man. All right. He said a lot there. So Richard Lionheart goes on that nice little rhyme scheme, and now Ragnar's like, I can do one of those nice little rhyme schemes too. Oh my gosh. All right. Hold on. Okay. Take off your tin shirt, right? Like, you want to fight, take off that armor. Let's duke this out like men, no armor or nothing like that. But then he's saying, I'm going to be basically standing here butt naked going berserk, a play off of the Viking berserkers, which were kind of like I guess you could call them like a special forces unit of the Viking army. There's not a whole lot really factually known about the berserkers. It's believed that they may have used hallucinogenic mushrooms before they went into battle to put them in this crazy state of mind. And they were known to be wearing very little armor, but they were also known to wear like animal furs, like having like a bear fur and stuff like that, and they would howl and they would bite their shields, and they would go into this berserker rage type mode, and they were feared in a lot of places. And so he's playing off the berserker bar there. Morning bells warn about me, right? So when the Vikings would show up, the Vikings were known for blowing their war horns. And most of the places that they raided, which in the beginning were a lot of churches and stuff like that over in England, they would start ringing the bells to let everybody know that a Viking raid was coming. So morning bells warn about me. I'm putting you to sleep. What was after that? This is hard to do. All right, let me just back it up.
Like your brother John, leaving monks and chunks
putting you to sleep like your brother John, leaving monks and chunks on Northumbrian lawns. Again, because they were known for raiding the churches in Northumbria. So they're leaving the monks laid out on the lawns. I know there's something historical there with leave you asleep like your brother John, but I don't remember exactly what. Sorry, guys. The camera shut off at the 30-minute mark. This is going to be a long video. I'm going to try to edit it up really well. So anyway, we ended off with the Allfather spawn, right? Odin being Allfather, being the main god in in Norse mythology. So he say, and one of the legends of Ragnar is that he is actually descendant of Odin. Some of them say, some translations say he's descendant of Odin, and some translations says he's the actual son of Odin. I guess you could say similar to like Heracles being the son of Zeus. So yeah, that's what that line meant right there.
Oh, Father Spawn! You couldn't even beat a salad in a fight!
Ooh.
You yourself as Monty Python nights! You went from chainmail to chained up in jail to mummy trained England to pay for your bail! With no king's rent!
Man, okay. You couldn't even beat a salad in a fight. King Saladin? Saladin is who King Richard was fighting, and he couldn't beat him to win Jerusalem. So you couldn't beat a salad in a fight, but you couldn't beat Saladin in a fight. Nice wordplay right there. And then he says, what do you say? Like, you got out of chainmail and wound up in jail, and then your mother, basically made your kingdoms go poor, trying to pay your bail, because Richard the Lionheart got locked up. His mom took a lot of money out of the people to get him out, to pay the ransom. All right.
With no king's ransom, we'll save you from these bars, son. I'm eating you alive like the gangrene you died from.
Wow.
Thank you to Rise of Kingdoms for sponsoring this video.
All right. Oh my goodness. All right. So right there at the end, no king's ransom will save you from these bars, son. Basically, I just killed you like the gangrene you died from. So going back to when he got shot and he got killed by the gangrene, that was a really, really good way to end that battle by Ragnar. Wow, man, my head hurts from reacting to this. ERB killing it again, man, with the historical facts, some of the Hollywood stuff, all thrown in there. Really good disses, really good flips, really good rhyme schemes, really good wordplay. You had some double entendres in there. Man, they killed this. Trying to think, obviously I'm biased, so I'm gonna go with Ragnar, but Richard did his thing too, but I feel like Ragnar did a pretty good job of flipping most of King Richard's hardest jabs that he came at Ragnar with. King Richard had the the big dick line, but then Ragnar flipped it by basically saying you can't even satisfy your woman, you didn't give birth to a biological son, all of that, so what does that even matter? He flipped the Lion King reference on him, like he said, I'm the Lion King, and then Ragnar came back around again with the you can't please your wife by saying, y'all don't feel the love on any night. Man, what were some of those other ones? But even just the way that Ragnar ended the fight, like Ragnar died trying to do something unheard of at the time, right? He trying to take over an entire country with 2 ships, and he lost, got thrown into a pit of snakes, but he lost, going to battle. King Richard died from a 10-year-old shooting him in the shoulder with an arrow that ended up killing him of gangrene. So, yeah, I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. This is a really, really long video, and I probably got way too nerdy during it, but hey, I love ERB. Epic Lloyd and Nice Peter are amazing at what they do, and the fact that they went back to the type of history that I really enjoy, and they brought one of my favorite historical characters, Ragnar Lodbrok, into the battle. It makes for a longer video. So if you guys watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. As always, I'm going to put the link to the original video down in the description so you guys can go show Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd and everybody over at Team ERB some love. And yeah, hopefully, maybe I was able to teach y'all something interesting during my breakdown, but I had a blast reacting to this for you guys. And I'll see y'all in the next sit down.